real estate's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you want to have some sort of, longevity, you need to try and, be in this for the long game. It takes a while to get there.
Welcome back. Today we have Dave Ozubko. He is a team leader in the Edmonton market. So his average sale price is $450,000. He does around 120 to 140 sales each and every year, so about 50 million in sales. And he's really built his business on repeat and referral business. And he's one of the top realtors in the Edmonton market as well. And so we're really excited to be talking with Dave on this call. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate the kind words and introduction. Grateful to be here today, and happy to share with you my experience, our team, and anything in and around, I guess, real estate that may be of value to our listeners.
Yeah, 100%. And so, Dave, I know we talked a little bit about I know with you and Maria, you guys work together, your wife, and you guys are able to go hardcore and then take a little bit of a breather, take a week, and then go hardcore. And every quarter you kind of have that to be able to recharge the battery. We're going to get into that. But maybe we can go back to the origin story of Dave and getting into real estate. Maybe you could share a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure, Mark. I'd be happy to. I was a seasoned hospitality veteran for, 20 plus years as a young kid, bussing tables, cleaning ashtrays in the nightclubs, working as a doorman. And I did my way that from the age of 16 to early 40, 41. I have 3 years of an education degree from the U of A of Alberta. Decided that wasn't my career path, and I was treated very well with hospitality. I got partnered up with some great organizations. I was a managing partner with the Cowboys Group. I'm not sure if you're aware of them, but they're a pretty legendary nightclub organization out of Calgary with the Stampede. So I was with them for 8 or 9 years, and then I was a managing partner with Century Hospitality Group in Edmonton. We grew that organization to, I think, 10 concepts, 400 employees. But I was 40 and working every night, every weekend, every long weekend, managing managers, managing staff, dealing with all of the, less desirable things that are in that environment. And I was miserable, and truly I was struggling and suffering inside physically, mentally, with addiction. And I was able to make an exit at 40, I think it was 40, 41. I'm 51 today. And had accumulated a ton of debt, taxes, living on overdraft, and I just couldn't do it any longer. So I got into real estate. I had a lot of friends that I had worked with growing in that industry that had seemed to do well and were selling houses. And I figured, 41, I wasn't going back to school. I wasn't going to go become a teacher, and I didn't know where I could, place myself, have the independence and the autonomy and earning potential, and went all in on real estate. And here we are today, 10 years later.
Well, it's a great story to, starting at 41 and then, growing to where you are right now. I think that's, 41 is still pretty young, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's like, sometimes it's like, am I kind of past my prime? And the reality, it's interesting, in the book, Think and Grow Rich, and many others, they talk about that most people's prime is in between like 40 and 50 for building businesses. And so it seems like you kind of hit that sweet spot. You transition right at the beginning of that phase there as well. But for any of the young listeners out there, that's actually some good encouragement as well. It's like, by the time you start to mature and you start to really see how the dots are all connected, you realize kind of in that 40 to 50 range, that's like prime business building time as well. But then you get a guy like Colonel Sanders, right? Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think he started when he was like 65. So, not a good reference. You're much younger than that, but it's just for the listeners out there. If you are thinking about starting real estate and you're a little older as well, but it doesn't take long, especially if you're able to dial in with the right group. And it sounds like when you started, you had some good associations that gave you some reference points on, what was possible with the people that you were hanging around with. How important was that to your start, having those we'll say those associations that you had with your friends at the beginning?
Yeah, I think, Mark, it was a combination of selective process in identifying a brokerage that I wanted to work with. Keep in mind, our industry has shifted and evolved a lot in the last 10 years. But I was fortunate enough to pair up with Remax Elite in Edmonton. And we had a ton of broker support, agent onboarding, classes, collaboration, masterminds. And, you know, getting into the industry, you get your licensing and all of those requirements, but there's not a lot of physical hands-on approach. Okay, now how am I going to go sell a house? How am I going to list a house? What are all the the contract legalities and everything else that goes with our industry? So I was very, very fortunate and blessed that I found a great brokerage. Shortly after getting into Remax Elite, I signed up for all of the classes that were offered from the Edmonton Real Estate Board, from your
Mm.
SRES, ABR, SRE, I think it's SRS, and then our brokerage had some stuff through Tom Ferry, Buffini, took all of those classes. There were mastermind groups, and I really tried to leverage, learn, and understand much as I could from the people in our office that were doing well, that were selling houses, that were running a business. And I tried to take in as much as I could at that time just to try and learn the business, pay a few bills, and start making some impact.
What advice would you have for the new agents out there that are either thinking about, getting into real estate, and so they're going to go interview different brokerages, or maybe it's somebody that is just not happy where they are currently, and they're about to go start to feel out the different opportunities. What advice would you have for them, and whether it's questions to ask or things to look for when they're looking for a new brokerage?
Um, so I think one thing agents, well, I've worked with a ton of agents that are new to the industry and they're kind of struggling and trying to figure out, okay, well, now what? And having a real good strong understanding of where and how am I going to find people to serve and do business with, and where do I find buyers, where do I find sellers, how do I get networked and connected with lawyers, professionals, accountants, so you can work with them collaboratively. So that's a big one. People don't think about that. The optics on TV uh, show this glamorous lifestyle of attending all these events and these fancy cars and outfits, and that's really not what happens behind the scenes for most agents. And then from a brokerage standpoint, so we were Remax agents for 10 years. We just moved over to Real Broker in January. We had a great tenor with Remax and a lot of respect for them, especially the broker and broker owners that we got to work with. We shifted in January just because the industry has changed, the brokerage model has changed. There's a lot of other key perks and benefits now that are offered from some of these other brokerages that we weren't getting over at Remax. So doing your homework on that, but then going back to the support, the training, the mentorship, the accessibility, because as a new agent, I mean, you need to have those resources. Otherwise, how are you going to survive? Who's going to support you? How are you going to get there? This is a very, very lonely business on your own. So if you don't have some sort of support, mentorship, accessibility, resources, like I think that's why the industry has such a high failure rate.
Hmm. How do they know if the manager is the right one? Like when you were interviewing, like was there something about the manager you look? Is it like the training that you're like, okay, show me the training, or are there any like red flags even that you can say to look for? Because you just went through this, right? So it would be fresh for yourself as well, of what to actually look for. But like any red flags to look out for, any questions to ask, or what is it about the manager itself that you should be looking for if you're looking for a new spot?
I would strongly encourage doing reference checks with
Mm,
agents that are currently working under that brokerage.
that's
Ask
smart.
them, how long have you been there? What's it like? What's there for
Yeah.
support? The broker, the manager, whatever their title may be, they can tell you one thing, but may necessarily not deliver on all those things. So I think having a good interview process with some of the agents that are there, look at their reputation, look at their
Mm,
online presence,
yeah.
look what kind of volume that they're doing. Because when I found Remax Elite, I positioned myself with a bunch of like high achievers, and that's who I wanted to learn from.
Mm, that's so good. 100%. You tend to get like residue. Either it's good or or it's good or bad. It can be positive or negative, but you get residue. It just kind of spills off to other people that you start hanging around and bumping shoulders with, right? So that's really good. That's really good on that side. So okay, so you made the transition. Now, when going back to when you started, what were the main ways that you generated business to, get a strong start? What were the main things you did to do for the lead generation side of things?
Coming from the restaurant, hospitality, nightclub background, marketing and promotions had been something that I was
Hmm.
quite seasoned with in terms of putting those together in those prior businesses. And I was already doing a lot of social media, like in terms of daily lunch features, weekly wine events, stuff like that. So I was pretty, I would say I was for an Edmonton agent, I would have been one of the first agents doing video, lots of social media postings, and trying to give some sort of presence and awareness to my industry change, what I was doing now. Really, really excited every time we got a listing, every time we did a sale. So I was very, very active on social media back then when I think a lot of agents were either sleeping, not aware of what was happening, the changing in our industry, but having that presence. And then my time in hospitality, especially in my last 8 years, we were in a central downtown location, and man, we ran a great business, and was very fortunate to build a lot of excellent contacts with investment bankers, people from Scotia, RBC, in terms of on the mortgage side, lawyers, accountants. So I use my database from that to try and start to leverage opportunity and trying to find and work with buyers and sellers, building referral partners. So there was a good base there. I just had to, like, Mark. I was so I remember when I started Buffini, I got a CRM, and trying to take the contacts that I think I had a BlackBerry back then, and there was no way to import them with CSVs or however you do it. I had to manually input all of my contacts from my phone into the CRM so we could try and start building a database.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's great, and I think for the listeners out there, if you have any sort of like network and you're thinking about getting into real estate, this is such a strong foundation. My question for you, Dave, is how did you transition from Dave being in the service industry to Dave being a realtor that they could trust? How did you make that pivot so that they were to say, okay, I like Dave, but I see him as somebody that I can trust to actually help me buy or sell a house.
Well, again, going back to the restaurant's hospitality, our vision was always to deliver a fanatical customer experience. We wanted to try and create raving fans. And I was a key figure in those business, shaking hands, opening doors, walking people out at the end of the night, calling taxis. People would message me like directly to try and get a reservation. So I built some really good, strong relationships, and people don't realize, or maybe they don't think about it, that real estate is very much a service based business. Results are delivered on how you make people feel, and if you're able to actually connect the dots on what their objectives. So I had already built a pretty decent database of people that had trusted me, but then it was like, okay, well, sure, you can serve us a great meal or provide a great experience in your venue, but you know, can you market our house? Can you sell us our house? Do you know how to negotiate? Do you know how to work with buyers, right? So that took a little bit of time. I did 17 units on my first year as a realtor, and I was still working part time as we had sold one of those businesses. I was working in transition with the new owners and just trying to pay some bills and have a little bit of cash flow. And I also wanted to still be visible and seen so I could tell people where I was going and what I was doing. So you with your reputation is so important, and following through on your commitments, showing up when you say you're going to show up, calling them when you say you're going to call them. Like, that trust is earned, and I take great pride in our business today, the service and the client experience that we deliver. And Mark, by any means, I will admit I've made a ton of mistakes in my life, uh, in the business, but trying to be genuine in your actions, authentic in your working for your client's best intentions, and servicing the people and not looking for a paycheck. Like in hospitality, we always told our team, deliver a great experience, and the business of the money will follow. That's what servers are always trying to wonder. Okay, how am I going to get paid? Rather than chasing the dollar, chase the client and deliver a great experience. Over service them, anticipate their needs, work hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how like some very simple things people appreciate, and it's more rare to actually find. What I love about what you did is you took your past experience and you made that as one of your kind of main pillars of why you're a great real estate agent. And I think that's where, for the listeners, any of their past experience, like for me, I was a hockey player. So I was always going full out in hockey, right? I was always training hard, working hard, discipline. And that approach actually we took into real estate, and our slogan is float for you. It's like part of the, we call it full out real estate agent, right? And so I think that just like you could have 10 different Italian restaurants in real estate, you could say we're all the same, but the reality is that real estate service can be completely and is completely different if you do it differently. And so that's just like with 10 different Italian restaurants, they're very different. You might say, well, they're all the same, it's all Italian, but you and I both know, Dave, that you go to 10 different Italian restaurants, you're going to get 10 different experiences. And so this is where what I love about what you did is you're like, you took your background and you pulled that in and you made it a strength, and you made that differentiation, just like I did, with hockey as well. So like for any of the listeners out there, take your previous skill sets, your previous experiences, and look at like, what is my unique kind of differentiator that I have, and tie that together with how you service clients. And that becomes like a major key advantage. And it sounds like that was a big part with your success on how you started.
Yeah, I tried to leverage every relationship contact that I had built and established because I had nowhere else to start. And, you know, there's many ways in our industry you can try and grow your business, but I wasn't the guy. I didn't want to be the guy that was gonna, go no door knocking on everybody's house. Kudos, props to the agents that do that and do it well. Like, right, good on you. Um, I wasn't in a financial position to send out 10,000, newsletters every month to half of Edmonton to try and generate a couple of leads. So I had to like work with the people that I knew, and literally, man, I was hitting that phone and hammering the calls trying to get an opportunity. And you get one, you can build on one, but it takes time. And we said this earlier, Mark, like real estate's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you want to have some sort of, longevity, you need to try and, be in this for the long game. It takes a while to get there.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But when you start getting the flywheel going, you start getting some wins. It gives you that encouragement. You just got to keep going and keep stacking the bricks until you start to get a little momentum. And then when you start to get that flywheel going and happy clients, it sure gets a lot more fun. And when you first that first paycheck for me was always like, oh, like this is actually this can be a full time full time thing, because it's like for a number of months it's like you're doing all this work and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get paid or not, right? So when you start getting a lot of those wins, it's not why you do it, although at the beginning maybe it's why. Like for me, it was putting food on the table at the beginning for me, but it's like a natural byproduct, like you had said it, natural byproduct of looking after people and doing a good job. uh, so you've been like super successful over the last decade in real estate. What are some of the main key habits that you do, or things that you do on a regular basis that has helped drive your productivity?
Mark, I'd say I'm very disciplined. Growing our business, providing a great customer experience, and first of all, I really enjoy what I do. I'm great. I'm so grateful that I landed in an industry that provides a ton of autonomy. We're not working under some massive corporate structure. We can wear what we want and show up when we want. Good or bad for some people. Um, but I was consistent. I got an office my first year. I could afford the $500-600 an office, and I read a stat that agents with offices earn 30% more income. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to go get an office, and I got an office, and I was around a bunch of great agents in that office that were high producers, and I was able to help them with some overflow. I was able to lean on them for tips, tricks, suggestions, and anything that I needed. Um, my wife and I started at quite early on with the Buffini program, and we were doing mailouts. And man, I remember sitting in our kitchen island on Sunday nights, and we had 200 envelopes. We had to fold all the envelopes, seal them, and then throw them in the mailbox. So we started doing monthly mailouts, built a database, started actually trying to utilize the database. And I think today we're finally, much better at that than we were back then. Attended all the brokerage meetings that was available through our office. Today we do a newsletter that goes out twice a month. We do a monthly market stats video that goes out every month. We've been building out our YouTube channel now, so we've got constant content on that. We've committed to every one of our listings to do high production video and marketing, because sellers want to see their house. That needs to be visible. We need to tell a story. We need to give it, legs and enthusiasm so people will want to buy it. We're invested heavy into marketing our sellers' homes. Our business today is 65-70% listings rather than buyers. And that's been just a gradual transition. Is in the last 2 years, we've doubled down on our marketing for our clients.
Yeah, the consistency, right? Like with, say, mailers, for example, like just connecting with people and that they see you on an ongoing basis is so important. Um, at the beginning, it's very manual, very awkward, and then you start to get into the late night Sunday. I totally I see it. I see you and Maria there Sunday night. I could see how that was, because it was even with Joanna and myself. I remember when we started, we were staging. She had just given birth to our first son. He's 17 now, and I remember we had a listing we had to stage, and it was within a day or two, a couple days after she had given birth, and we needed this paycheck, right? We had to sell this house and we had to do a good job. So I actually went with her, and we were staging the property with the newborn at that time, uh, hanging pictures and doing all that. It kind of, you look back at that with some fondness, right? Because you kind of see that early scrapper. Um, and I think that's a very good thing. It's a very healthy thing. But how do you get from that awkwardness to a point where you are right now, where you're just you got a well-oiled machine? I mean, you have currently right now, you have 3 licensed team members, you have 2 full-time assistants, marketing, you have a team that's helped you. How do you go from that awkwardness at the very beginning into a well-oiled machine, but doing it as, how can you cut down the time to make that happen? And what do you do to make that happen?
Yeah,
I know it's a tough question there, because there's a number of things, I'm sure, but I'm curious to get your take on how you would move through that faster.
well, cash flow and finances is certainly a big part on your ability to scale
Right.
and grow to some extent. Now, at the very beginning, my wife and I were wearing all the hats: the marketers, the stagers, the listing agent, the newsletter, the mail outs. We were doing all of that. And Mark, we got into a point where there was nothing left to do. We were working 7 days a week. And, although our business was doing well, we just never had any time, and we never had any time together. And I think as you grow older, your priorities begin to shift and change. And as we were getting older, my wife's 39 and I'm 51 today, our time together, either as a couple with our family doing things, becomes a priority. And it's like, okay, well, something has to give. How do we create more time? And we had to start looking at tasks that we could, download, offload, source out, that we could leverage time with a little bit of money. And gradually, you know, it's grown to this. So, figure out, hire an assistant, or get somebody who can help with some of those tasks or jobs that are super important and need to get done, but will free up a little bit of your time. And then you can spend maybe a little bit more time working on what I call HPAs, a high payoff activity.
Mm.
Focus on the offense and try and pay some people to be your defense. Having a little bit more income coming in allows you to grow. You can then take a little bit of money, put it to the side for your operations, admin, and work on it through that. So my wife and I were fine running the business up until about 4 or 5 years ago, and had a conversation with a good friend. She was getting into the industry and was going to go join a team. And we just looked at each other and we're like, you know what? Like, maybe we should grow a team. Maybe you should join our team. Maybe we should work together. And that's kind of how it happened. And then all of a sudden, we're like, okay, now that we have 3 agents, my wife was kind of like the licensed assistant, managing of all the stuff. She's busy doing everything all the time. And then I'm out on the road doing all the sales. And our life was like not that fun, Mark. And so then we figured, okay, like, look, how do we make this better? How do we make it a well-oiled machine? How do we create systems? How do we get to scale? How do we leverage our time? How can we make this more efficient and automated so our clients have a better experience? Clean onboarding, organized, less errors. Clients love it. We get our time. So we engaged in hiring a couple of VAs, and you know, started with one, and that was a real process and discovery and took a lot of time. But, it's taken a couple of years now, and our business runs pretty fluently now. And, we're doing more volume today. My wife and I have much more time where we can do things that are of importance in our life, and not just real estate, family, travel, church, whatever that may be. And most importantly is our clients are getting a pretty solid experience.
Mm. What would you say? You were saying some like high leverage activities. If you were to narrow it down to like three things only that you could do, like you could do and you would do it all day long to increase the amount of revenue that comes into your company, what would you say would be like the most important three things that you do to drive revenue?
Focusing on getting appointments. I mean, your buyer and seller appointments are certainly super, super important. So I would say that would be number one. Um, what would be number two? Number two, so you've got your appointments. Um, we allocate and we book time now every month to build out our social media. We do batch
Mm.
content shooting, because otherwise it's very, very timely disorganized. You're not consistent at it. So we allocate one day a month now. We're out for 6 hours. We have our marketing team there. We put all that together. We've been building out all of our socials for that. That truthfully generates a ton of leads and interest. I find the more visible and the more consistent we are on social media, just more often my phone rings. And your phone ringing is what you need for business. Um, and then either A, allocating time to spend with current clients, to spend time with past clients for a great system of follow up, follow back, and working on building some sort of strong referral partners. Like, where does your business come from? Who do you work with? Right?
Yeah, 100%. So what I heard from you was go out and get more appointments. So have more conversations with potential buyers and sellers. Go on the appointments themselves. Marketing, making sure that you're driving. Ultimately, you got to drive more leads, more people coming in, and they got to see you. Which, if you don't do the marketing, then it's easy for it to fall flat as well. So spending time there, and then servicing the clients as well. And past clients, I think, are really good, even like lead generation thing to be doing. I think it's an easy one for most realtors. It's not as sexy to be focusing on, past clients as a lead generation. And it's sexier to go online and do the PPC and getting new leads and converting. It's more of that hunter mentality versus the farming, right? But I think for the listeners out there, that's really important to really hone in on, like, what's the 20% that drives 80% of your results. I mean, there's a million things you can do as a real estate agent. I think the ones that get really clear, just like you did, as to here's the main things that I need to be spending time on, like not forgetting to do those, I think is like one of the key traits of top producers that I've seen.
Just trying to look at your schedule. And my wife and I did this as an exercise late last year, and she's like, "Okay, you seem frustrated and just irritable." She goes, "Let's go through your calendar for the week. Let's actually itemize some of the tasks that you seem to be doing, and let's figure out which ones you enjoy and that you're great at, and let's try and figure out the ones that are causing you the most stress and anxiety. Let's figure out how we can get those tasks done, but maybe get somebody else to do them."
So smart. See, Dave, I just want to underline how important it is to surround yourself with really great people. Like I cannot count the number of times Joanna, so my wife, has given me some sort of like wise counsel or insight, or it's like things that you just don't see. Like Dave, you probably wouldn't have never slowed down to say, okay, let's just slow down here and let's like write down everything and figure out what you like doing, what you don't like doing. And I've had that, I don't know, countless times. I'm doing something. It's just, I'm so busy doing the thing, you just don't see it. And then when you surround yourself with great people, right? So it's you started with the brokerage, getting around the right people, but then I think who your spouse is as well, like that's of untold importance. And being able to kind of share and get insight along the way. I think getting quick feedback loops is such a blessing for ongoing development. Has that been a key trait with you as well, with your success, having that feedback as you've been producing?
Geez, Mark, having a group or community or a team of quality, skilled, intentional, like loyal, hardworking that are going to show up, and we're all going, working in the same vision and direction, allow you to have just more coverage, depth. Um, Absolutely. And you said about working with my wife. So I've worked with my wife in a full time capacity for 10 plus years in real estate and about 5 to 7 in hospitality. So 17 years. And honestly, like, I am so grateful today that we have our own business together, that we get to work together, we get to look out and have each other's backs and ensure that our clients have a great experience. Because having that type of teammate, support, partner, man, it just makes life more fun. You do better work. It isn't always great. I mean, I'm sure, Mark, you've had your disputes with your wife working together, and it can be a little bit heated. But trying to figure that out, how to effectively communicate. My wife and I came up with this little thing a while back as we were at each other a bit. It was like, okay, we came up with the benefit of the benefit of the doubt rule. I was looking at things sometimes and like thinking, okay, why is she thinking that? But now it's like, okay, let's give each other the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, good.
We are on the same team. We're working for the
Yeah.
same people, and we have the same vision. And through that, I've discovered and realized like what my mind was thinking sometimes was way offside, way off course.
Yeah.
She's looking at things totally differently. So it's trying to learn how to communicate.
Yeah, so good, man. So good. That right there is such a powerful concept. It's funny, Dave, when we just got married, it would sometimes take me like a month. And when I knew that I was off on something, to go to Joanna and apologize for it. I was just like, I'm right. I was like, oh no, she did this wrong and this wrong, and that's why I did that. And then what happened is, as I got a little more wise, as I started to age, I was able to like realize, oh, you know what, I should probably do this sooner. So then it was like 2 weeks, and then 1 week. And it's interesting because now, like, I've learned if I'm off on something, the faster I can take ownership and say, I was totally off. Will you forgive me on that? the better the relationship has been, because like you're going quick, right? There's always things, nobody's perfect, and I love that benefit of the doubt rule, that you change your perspective on your spouse. It's not like she's against you, she's with you. You're able to shift your perspective, so to realize, no, we're actually going after the same thing. So I love that. And then, realizing when you're off as well, I'll maybe add to that, you take those two, I think it gives you such a, we'll just say, a more enjoyable life. And especially if you're working with them as well, I mean, they're really your most important team member. uh, right. And in order, if you want to hit your real estate goals, you better look after that relationship.
Totally. I trying to make amends and correct course and admit when you were wrong. I'm marked the same way for long of time, just letting things sit, fester, not communicating, and making things only worse. Um, and so yeah, I'm now of a mindset, and it's actually through a totally different program. I'm an AA guy, and I've been an AA mark now for 8 years, and one of our steps is about making the amends when we're wrong, and I try and do those immediately so I can correct course, move forward for my own personal well being, and to do what's right to others.
Love that. No, that's good, and that's a great conversation. I don't think that people talk about that a whole lot. How important it is, that you have a good relationship at home. I think that's what makes you really strong. I know when Joanna and I, when we're like, going like super tight, it's like, I know I can conquer the world, right? And then there's sometimes you kind of working some things out. I go to work, I'm like mad that morning because she did something, and then I realize I'm not on not on the game, and you realize after, it's like, what was that again that you're doing? It's like, I don't even know, right? So if you want to be pulled out at work, like, just slow down. And it's not always, it's easier said than done, I think, but the reality is it's totally doable. You just have certain rules like what we shared. If you just take ownership quick, and realize your spouse actually wants the same thing as you, is just they see things from different perspective, and that's the communication side of it, I think, is really good. Was that Words of the Five Love Languages is a really great book. I think it's Gary Chapman that wrote that book, that talked about realizing your spouse's love language and what it is. Like, might be words of affirmation, it might be gifts, right? But you figure out what that is, and if you can do it, you can fill their cup. And uh, check it out. I'm not sure if you heard about that, Dave, but definitely is a goodie.
Languages.
Yeah, Five Love Languages. Maria's gonna love it. If
I know.
yeah, you should write that down. You get some bonus points for that one, because you'll figure out what her love language is, and you'll be able to fill the cup. And anyways, maybe you send me a thank you text after if it goes well. If not, you can send me a bad text too if it doesn't go well. I'll take that. All right, so let's move on a little bit. So you're generating leads, you're going on appointments. So is there anything when you go on an appointment, whether you can, whether it's on the buyer or the seller side, that you're like, when I go on the appointments and I do this is like really helps differentiate me when I'm speaking to either buyers or sellers?
Come prepared.
Okay.
Come prepared. We get told very often, and buyers and sellers will frequently meet with other agents, and man, Mark, I don't know how many times that we've come and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are so prepared, organized. You have all the information. Like, value your client's time, and if they're going to give you an hour and a half, be prepared." And they also will often comment that they really like our energy and excitement. And I don't know if that's me just passionate about life and working with people, and the career that I've chosen, but that's contagious. People get excited. If you're excited, people get excited. So, man, come prepared, know your information, don't bullshit anybody, and come with enthusiasm and excitement. I think it's contagious, and people enjoy it.
Yeah, especially when the market is not strong. They're used to realtors coming in and like beating their house up, saying the market's horrible. And when you have an agent coming in that's on fire, like, I imagine, Dave, you coming in, just from our conversation, I could see how they'd be like, yeah, like, let's go sell this house together. Yeah, let's do it.
Right? That's who
uh,
they want to work with.
Yeah, 100%. You don't want to work with Debbie Downer, or any others that are walking in and it's all doom and gloom, right? You want somebody that's excited. Now, when it comes to the research, what are some of the things that you do to prepare when it comes to like data points that you come in? Like I would imagine you going with your sales, recent sales, and your active competition, any expired and whatnot. Anything else that you do that you bring into appointments that help give you an edge?
I think having a better understanding of what your competing inventory looks like, go out and physically view it if you can, ask for a preview showing, So, man, if we've both got a $550,000 house in the same community and this one's been on the market for 2, 3 weeks, how are we different? Consumers will shop on price, value, presentation. So, if we want to sell and that one's been sitting there for a while, what are we going to do to try and get it there? Um, and just don't rely on the MLS photos. Like, I mean, those can be so overshot and everything else. So I think it's good to touch and feel. But I think it's also good to dig back a little bit deeper. Agents often won't look at all the history. And although that house might be listed today, you can see that it's been on the market 2 or 3 other times. They've switched representation. Their pricing's been all over the map. Maybe they've had just poor counsel or poor advice. As we said, Mark, not every agent's the same, and there's I think 4,500 plus licensed agents now in Edmonton. And I'm not saying I'm better than everybody, but do your homework, know your information, come prepared, know the data. Uh, I always bring my computer, so if there's something I don't know, I have the accessibility to hotspot off my phone, pull it up right there, rather than having to get back to them. We come with nice little guides, folders. Um, we have doggy bags for clients that have pets. We're big pet people. That's probably a big niche in our market. So we do little things like that to try and stand out.
Love that. Yeah. And I would imagine if you said, yeah, I actually walked through this house before coming over, or I showed that house already, the competitor house, right? That would give you a major advantage. Like, oh, this guy's in the loop. This guy knows what he's talking about. And it doesn't take that much extra time, but it gives you really great context to be able to talk about that sale or that other active listing on the market. But a lot of other agents wouldn't go do that, right? So I would imagine that would give you an advantage when you're in there.
Yeah, just having good information that is relatable to the situation. I think it just shows that you're wanting to be, well advised, that you come prepared, and yeah, do your homework.
Is there anything from a service level, whether when you start, okay, so the clients, they agreed with you that you're their agent, so they sign a listing agreement or they sign a buyer agreement with you. Is there anything, whether on the buyer seller side, when you're servicing them, that is like, okay, this is a real wow that we do?
You know what? So there's one. Mark, I'd say we do lots of things. We do your typical closing gift and all that kind of stuff. We do a home anniversary gift. We do a 5-year home anniversary gift. We send out birthday cards. We send out home anniversary cards. We do an annual client appreciation party. We did it this year down at there's a baseball team here in Edmonton called the Edmonton Riverhawks, and they get attendance of about 5-6,000. We booked out this big area called what's it? Whatever the area is called. We have 175 guests that attend. We take care of tickets to the game. We take care of food for the afternoon. We take care of drinks for the afternoon. We have a bunch of door prizes and giveaways. It's pet friendly. We make an arrangement with the baseball stadium so everybody can bring their well behaved pets. We bring one of the local animal rescues that we work with. They bring some adoptable dogs that are up for adoption, so we get some awareness within the animal rescue. We have some donations available for our clients to make to the animal rescue. So we get together. We had 175 people in July. It was an awesome turnout, great afternoon. It's about 3 hours. We raised a ton of cash for one of the rescues, and it's a really good chance just to go around and shake hands, kiss babies, have fun, chat with people that maybe you haven't contacted with in a while, and just show thanks and gratitude, man. I mean, that's our business.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's interesting because when, new agents start and it's kind of like they see somebody like you, Dave, and they're like, how do you do it? How do you do it? And what's interesting is like it's a combination of many things, but what's consistent is that there's a real focus on like customer service and looking after your clients that you're currently serving, but then even your past clients. And interesting, it's very consistent. What I see is like the agents that look after their past clients as well, and they do the events, they do the birthdays, they do the anniversaries, like they're delivering value past the sale as well. They just tend to, outlast other agents. That it's all about like it's all about the hunter, and then burn and turn, burn and turn, burn and turn. It's like you got to look after the clients at the end of the day after the sale as well. And if you can do that, you can really last in this business because they see you as like, that's my guy or that's my gal, right? Like that's, and I think that you need to put systems in place so that it's not like a one and done. It's like an ongoing consistent rhythm that you do year in year out. I would imagine that that's been something you've been doing consistently over the past few years, I would imagine.
It's so funny as we're speaking about this. I was going back. I'm trying to think. Maybe it would have been probably year 5, 6 into our business. I don't know if you would know what a net promoter score is or an NPS score. It's like how likely people are to recommend you. And we engaged with this little local company here in Edmonton to follow up with our clients from the past 2 or 3 years and came up with a few questions to determine our net promoter score. And we got a really good recurring theme that, hey, they were great during the sale, but we didn't hear about them ever afterwards. I was like, what the? Like,
Yeah.
because we're, Mark, as you said, we're always,
Huh.
looking forward,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Okay, so we need to keep looking forward. We got to keep doing what we're doing, but we have to develop some sort of system of follow back because we have an audience of people who genuinely like us, think we did a good job, service them well, but we haven't built a system of follow up or follow back.
Mm.
We took that as an opportunity and we've been working on that now ever since and have come up with now all of these little touch points, opportunities to reconnect our client party, anniversary gifts, 5-year anniversary gifts, anniversary cards, birthday cards, pop buys. You know what I mean? Like, so we're trying to be better at that because I would rather work with somebody that I've worked with previously and had a good experience than scrubbing and chasing that online lead who wants this right now, never calls you back, no idea what you're going to get. And yeah, so I think that's why our business is about 80%, repeat referrals because we've now got a pretty good little system of people or things to just try and have better touch points and follow back.
Since you shifted, has it been dramatic increase since you shifted that mindset and started implementing these activities?
We've honestly seen pretty consistent, gradual, organic growth
Yeah.
since we got into real estate. The market in Edmonton through COVID and everything else shifted. So we saw some spikes and everything else with sales volume. But typically, year over year, we've seen, nice incremental growth.
Amazing. What do you think differentiates high producing agents from low producing agents and how they think? Like, what's the mindset difference between a low producer and a high producer?
Well, we started coaching 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And I got to say, coaching was a really, really great eye opener in terms of let's go from being real estate agents to actually, CEOs of our own business. I've been writing in my day timer and I journal every day. I've got all my stuff in there, activities, priorities. And I've been writing in the header of every week, Dave Sells CEO. So I can get into the frame mind of, okay, I'm running this business. I have people that are working with me on our team that I need to delegate, lead, and motivate. And I have to run my business as a CEO, not just a realtor. And honestly, like that through the coaching, um, networking, masterminds has just created a much different structure and system within our business today. And I love it, man. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, so good. So let's shift a little bit to the investing side. One of the biggest regrets I hear from realtors is I wish I would have invested more in real estate. It's one of the biggest regrets. I mean, we have a number of agents on our team that from when they started with nothing and now they're millionaires. Not only were they high producers on our team, but they use their profits and they invested in real estate along the way. Now they're like multimillionaires. But a lot of agents, they made a lot of money, but they didn't invest, or maybe they're just starting right now and they need some encouragement. So what advice would you have for the agents out there listening when it comes down to, say, investing in real estate? Is there any sort of advice or counsel that you would give to them to be able to, take that step forward?
Well, so my wife and I currently, right now, we have our primary residence, and we have a great rental property, and we've had three other rental properties, and we sold those. They weren't the best investment, and maybe not the smartest purchase. Um, However, through the years, we've moved and sold some properties, and as a realtor, you certainly have real time market data and information. You get to know what's happening in the marketplace. We get to see, touch, and experience real estate all the time, and there are deals out there. You have to look for them, and leveraging our our trade, our market knowledge, resources in terms of maybe lenders or institutions who can help get you that second, third property. Lending restrictions in Canada have like tightened up over the last couple of years, so it's become a little bit more complex. But you know having that as a way to build equity, pay down your mortgage. Maybe you can build some passive income. I've got a couple of friends that are doing well on the Airbnb side. There's a little bit more management and marketing on that, but those can cash flow really well. There's a lot of ways in this industry where real estate can certainly provide great opportunity and wealth. And honestly, we're positioned in real estate because we also want to diversify our savings and investment portfolio, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because as real estate agents, we get busy, right? We get busy selling, and then, and then you realize you're so busy. It's kind of like the contractor, right, that never gets their house finished. I know a lot of them, and they're like, "Yeah, my house is never done the way that their wife is like yelling at them because they're so busy, others, and they don't get that half job that job. I remember our very first place. I realized this is where I realized with delegation. We bought our very first home, Joanna and myself, and she was pregnant. And it was a 2 bedroom, but there was a third potential bedroom. You just need to put a wall up. I'm like, when we bought the property, I told Joanna, I'm like, oh, me and my brother, we can put the wall up. No problem. No problem. She's like, okay, but this is going to be the baby's room. So we need it done. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then I got busy at work and 6 months goes by. We got halfway done. And then we were coming up like within weeks of labor. And Joanna, one day I remember like it was yesterday, she's like, Mark, get the room finished. We have to get the baby's coming.
Right.
I was like, oh geez. It was like that look. And so we finally we got it together and decorated the room just in perfect time for the baby. But I learned a lesson there is like hire the right people, get the job done, but you got to get the job done, right? And so this is where I would say when it comes down to like the investing side, you got to look after your own home. You got to look after your own home, and what I mean by that is your own investments as well. And at the end of the day, yes, you got to look after clients, but to set some time aside because a decade can go by very quickly.
Oh, geez,
And
that's so true, right? Like, and
yeah,
especially as you get older, it seems like.
yeah, 100%. And this is where it's like we're doing this. We want to help and serve people, but at the same time as well, like leaving that wall to the last minute, like I did, is that's not an ideal situation for your financial future. Because I do think today, you know, most people. I mean, with inflation and how things are, like there's a lot of people that won't be able to retire down the road. And the hope is, and my hope is for all the listeners out there, is that you're working in real estate because you want to, not because you have to. And the best way down the road is obviously, you build your business, you make as much income as you can, but no matter how much income you make, you need to deploy some of that income into another investment and have it grow so that down the road you can work if you want to, not because you have to. And I think that if you're intentional about it, that's why I like your journal idea. Like, just write down what your goal is in regards to like future income, and then just start building along the way. And I think if you do that down the road, I don't think that's going to be something you regret, as well. Because we talked about, right? Time flies.
Yeah, having 5, 10 year goals, 15 year finances, retirement. Realtors make good money.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them don't put any money into savings and are constantly, having to pay for their taxes. There's a lot of money that always goes out in our industry as well, but I'm a firm believer in having some sort of financial like plan, retirement, savings, because life happens, Mark, and you know what? We got to be positioned to be able to pivot, adapt, shift. Otherwise, like who knows? But yeah, the real estate investment side, anybody that's been watching the markets in Alberta, we're seeing residential pricing. Although the markets softened a little bit in the last month or so, we're seeing inventories up 20%. But otherwise, we've been seeing residential properties up anywhere from 10 to 15% year over year for the last couple of years. I mean, what a great way to build equity. You know, have a tangible asset that's not sitting in the bank that you physically own. Rent it out and probably generate a little bit of positive cash flow on the thing, and set yourself up.
Yeah, 100%. So good. All right. Well, I just realized time's flying here with you, Dave. We got rapid fire here, and then we're going to wrap up. You ready for last three questions?
I guess let's do it.
All right. So I'm a big reader, love reading. I'm curious what your favorite book is.
Ooh, jeez. Oh, Mark, I'm not much of a reader. I'm more of a podcast
Okay.
guy.
What's your favorite podcast? We'll go for a podcast as well. Who's your go-to?
Well,
Is that the full out real estate agent? You can say that too, right? So, yeah. What's your go-to?
right now I've been doing lots of stuff more so related to. Jeez, Mark, you got me. I'm trying to think. Like I'm a little bit more of news and world events, just trying to stay aware of what's happening in and around the world. And a podcast that I listen to quite frequently is Redacted News. It's a great one. I also really enjoy this gentleman here. It is the Peter St. Ange. He's got he's a PhD in. I'm just trying to pull my things up here. I feel like I'm stumbling, but that's okay. And podcast, yeah. So Peter St. Ange, he talks weekly finance, what's happening in the markets, and he seems to have a little bit more of an unbiased view of what's going on. Um,
Okay.
my favorite book of all time, though, because I am a proud practicing member of AA, would be the Big Book. So,
The Big Book.
the Big Book.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Second question: what are three words that best describe you?
Disciplined, loving, loyal. I treat people well that treat me well. I've always been a firm believer of that. And
That's good. You got disciplined, loving, and loyal. You got three. Those are really good. Are you going to add a fourth? Or are you good?
I've tried to learn to be kind.
Okay.
I think the world today is just lacking genuine
Yeah.
kindness and compassion towards others. And with everything that seems to just to be, people are tense and high strung. Like, man, treat people nice, be kind, make them smile, open a door for somebody. Doesn't hurt.
Well, that's where the loving side, like that's actually one of our core values, both in the real estate investment firm that we have, and then Fair's team is like a genuine love of people. That's our first core value in both companies, and that's something that you either have it or you don't have it when you're working with people, and you definitely have it as well. And kindness would fall under that umbrella for sure. All right, final question here. We're going to wrap up. Final advice. So for the agents that are listening, maybe they are looking to scale up their business to the next level, or maybe they're thinking about getting into real estate. What final advice would you have for them?
Well, anybody wants to grow their business, scale their business, you need a plan. And a plan is going to have action items, accountabilities, timelines, next steps, but having an actual plan and realize the plan's going to change, life is going to happen. You're going to have to learn how to deviate, and real estate isn't always like winning. We have lots of losses. The market can sometimes be tough and people are really tough, but having an actual plan, goals, vision, write things down, get a coach, get a mentor, show up when nobody's watching. Do the work when nobody's watching, you know what I mean? Because that's when the magic happens. It takes time to build the business. It's easy to make the right decision, Mark, when everybody's watching, but when nobody's looking, what are you really doing?
Yeah, so good. Great advice. Well, the listeners that want to reach out to you, Dave, maybe, whether it's, they want to come work with you, or maybe they want to refer a buyer or seller to you, what's the best way they can reach out and connect?
Well, we've got a pretty simple website. You can reach out to us. It's davesells.ca. My Instagram and Facebook are certainly easy ways to connect through us. Be happy to drop my phone number in here. It's 780-966-8227. I love chatting on the phone with people when it comes to life, business, and real estate. So I'm pretty accessible, Mark. You can hit us on our socials. You can find us on our website. And we've got a Google business page of, I think, 275-star reviews of people that we've worked with in the last couple of years.
Amazing. Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a real blast hanging with you.
Mark, I enjoyed this as well. It was great communication. I felt a really nice synergy. And you know what? I'm also super grateful that I can share with you my journey today from, the infancy on where we started, where we are today. I still have, big things ahead that we're working on. But if I can give, encouragement, insight, and help others success, that would be a real gift. So thanks for having me on the show.
Well, you definitely did that today. Thanks again for coming on. And thank you guys for listening to the show. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and share it with other real estate agents that you think will benefit from it. I love you guys, and keep on going full out.